I was gonna say watch gang, but that's already coined. I can't say why. I can say what's going on, enthusiast gang. Sunday vibes. I got questions. I'm making this like a series things because I like the conversation that we have when we talk about things as enthusiasts. And I come on here and I've got questions for you guys. I'm interested to know what your ideas are. Kunta, hello, hello. So I got a list of things that I want to talk about here. Of course, we got to do a wristwatch check. And it just so happened that I'm wearing a custom watch, which is going to work into actually the first question. So let's flip things around and show you guys what we're working with today. And I'm also double wristing. So I'm going back to my old ways. So what's on the wrist today? We have my custom build Bund homage, if you will, and there's a story behind this, right? I actually liked the design from Blancpain before they came out with the Swatch version, right? And I kind of like stopped thinking about it. I actually like this design better than the Rolex Submariner. And of course, this is a homage, right? This is not the actual watch, but I decided to build my own after they came out with the Swatch version because I just figured, you know what? If Swatch is doing it, why not me, right? And their watch is a fun watch. It's affordable compared to what the regular price tag is from Blancpain. And this is the 50 Fathoms. Obviously, it's a nod towards them. It's a one-for-one copy. Santana on the logo, of course. And I actually learned a lot of things with this one. So I don't know if you can spot this, but there's a couple of things I want to talk about with this build specifically. So this wasn't my first build, right? I built a few watches and this was actually like down the road where I had some experience, but I still made mistakes with this one. And this was an example of how AliExpress parts could be a little inferior if you're looking to build your own custom watch. So it's all worked into the conversation that we're having today. And if you're looking to look for this exact case on AliExpress and build this watch, you can't do, at least where I left off, it wasn't able to be produced anymore with this case. And I actually purchased two of these. I was gonna make one for my father and one for me, and I had to change plans because I actually had issues with this case that I got from AliExpress to build this watch on the second one. And the issues that I had was actually with the crown tube, and there was actually a big manufacturing defect with it. And on the second watch that I purchased, the part that receives the crown here actually came off of the watch, okay? And that was by far the only terrible experience that I had with going from pieces from AliExpress, doing custom builds from there. So I want to give you guys game on that. And I had a lot of issues with that. I ended up contacting the company and asking them to either, send me a new tube for the crown or send me a new case. And they went back and forth with me. And then what I noticed was all of the stores on AliExpress that was selling this case was no longer selling it, right? And that was because I finally wrapped my mind around the idea that AliExpress was having a manufacturing, or rather not AliExpress, but the stores on AliExpress were having that same manufacturing issue. And when I tried to purchase it from other companies and they had full builds, and I was just gonna take their full build and swap out the dial because I had the custom dial already done. And they pretty much pulled this case. So that was an issue. And I had another issue too. So the way that this secures on the band, this piece, when I tried to adjust it, it actually broke off, okay? So there are some things that you need to know if you are purchasing from AliExpress. And I don't want to scare you guys because this was actually the only watch that I had issues with. But I had some people after seeing this say, oh, this is really cool. I want to make this build. Where'd you get the pieces from? I can't recommend this casing as of right now, and I haven't looked back into it, but what I did see was all of the cases that all of the stores were offering this. When you put it in the cart, it said no longer available, even though they had quantities. So they just basically pulled the line for it. And there's a different version of the Blancpain, and you guys probably know what I'm talking about. There's a more modern bezel on there. and that you could pretty much find even other companies, like I believe Tandorio even has a version of it, so you guys could buy that case and swap out the dial or change the hands or whatever you want to do. The second thing, which is more of my mistake, was I put that hour hand, and I don't think this is going to come up on camera, but the hour hand is actually sitting too flush to the dial, and it's creating circular marks on it. So it's not scratching any of the names, so I don't know what's going on there. But that was the second thing that I ran into. Again, that's my fault. I just pushed that too far down. I never went back in there to change it. It is what it is. The watch still functions and still holds time very well. So I don't really feel the need to go back in there. It is what it is. But yeah, and I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. I did have an issue with this tube, this crown tube here that you screw this down into. So beware of that if you are looking to make this build. And I did have issues with the bracelet. Now, this is, so I put the wording on here. It actually says 50 Fathoms Special Edition and then my birth year. And I learned from this by realizing that the font that you choose when you do the rendering for when you want to do custom builds will actually be too small if you're not careful. You can't read this with the naked eye, and I'm okay with that because I know what it says, and I did want to do a little bit of a nod to the 50 Fathoms, which you can also see here on this clasp secure. So I actually redid, this is actually like the second watch that I purchased in order to get this, and I also had to repurchase the band. So this was a little bit of a struggle. It has a solid case back. And that was my only experience that I had on AliExpress that was an issue, but this one runs fine, and I think the crown is a little loose on here, so I would have to go back and work on that type of thing. But that's the watch that I have on wrist, on at least my left wrist, and I actually, like I said, I'm double wristing, and I actually still have on the G-Shock to say goodbye to summer. Today was the last day. We're now into officially fall, so it is what it is, but you know, I felt like double wristing again, and I took a break from it, but we're back on to that type of vibe, and those are the two watches that I'm rocking today. So I actually have, wow, that was close. I actually have questions that are going to tie into that exact kind of conversation with homage and everything else. Always great day when I get to see a watch. You do your thing. Yeah, thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. I appreciate you. I got a couple of custom watches that I'm very proud of, and I have a whole collection, if you will. I think I have now eight dials that are Santana dials. That's what I like to label them in my collection now. And actually, if you guys saw the video that I did with Tandorio, they have a custom dial feature. They're not really big on it. It's not something they want to advertise, but it's something that they did for me to do a review because they knew that I like to have that Santana logo. So I sent them the renderings, which is just an image, and they were able to do it. They sent it back to me to make sure it was okay, and that's the reason why my Tandorio has Santana on there. But that leads me to my first question, man. I got my first question for you guys. Do you guys think, as collectors, do you guys think everybody who collects watches should attempt building a personal watch? Now, there's a specific reason why I'm asking that question. If every enthusiast who collects, and of course, we all know that not every enthusiast is going to build their own watch, but at least I think that every enthusiast that starts a collection and is collecting, they're gonna think about it once they find out about mods and once they see the videos of people completing full builds and everything. But I posed the question of if you guys think enthusiasts should attempt it, if that should be something that's more mainstream. You know, you have Namoki Mods, you have a couple of companies like DIY Watch Club that are offering these kits to build our watches. And I'm gonna tell you why I think it's a good idea, okay? And of course, I'm slightly biased because I have custom watches that I built, but I can tell you this, after building a watch, and I don't mean assembling a movement, that's a whole nother ball game, okay? It's a whole nother set of skills, and it's very involved, and you kind of have to take classes for it. I at least took online classes that gave me a more rounded idea of what that would look like, and it's tedious. It's something that I'll probably pursue later down the road, but assembling custom watches like this is something that I definitely would say is something that every collector should attempt at one point. And I'll tell you why. After completing my first put together, and I did start off, by the way, with Do It Yourself Watch Club, and it's actually the watch that you see in my logo. Um, it was a bronze diver, and I actually assembled that watch long ago when I first started collecting because I really wanted to make a custom watch that was a nod towards the alpinist, right? And I was ready for bronze material in my watch. So that was a very good experience for me because it gave me the insight of what watchmaking, at least to the effect of assembly, right? When you're putting watches together, again, you're not making the movement. It comes with the movement already assembled. You're putting on the dial, the hands, you're casing it, you're putting on the crown, you're sizing the stems oftentimes. And it gave me a greater appreciation and more patience for having defects, if you will, right? Like you see how fragile these pieces are. You know that some companies like Seiko, somebody mentioned only Seiko, they're having some slight issues with their watches over the last, I would say, year to year and a half. But it also gave me that perspective of, okay, this isn't as easy as it seems. And I get that you're still paying for a product and you have expectations of that product coming in one piece. But there are other things that are outside of watch companies. When they send you a watch, a lot of the biggest issues that I see is that hands become dislodged. And that can happen, especially on the second hand, through transit, right? You have your box, hopefully they package it very well, but you guys know how the mailman does, baby. He just takes that box, he chucks it. Who knows? I've had footprints on my packages. I've had rips, and you know it was sitting underneath. So there are things that your watch goes through during transit, right? It's things that we don't want to think about, but we know. So when we open that watch up, a lot of the times people will have hands that are dislodged and get upset with the company. But once you put a watch together yourself and you see how involved that is, then you kind of give more respect or get a better understanding. Not only are you giving yourself the skill set to be able to remedy that problem, right? Because if it's just hands being dislodged, you might be grumpy, but you may say, you know what? I've put together a watch. Let me try to open it up, put the hands back. Maybe not. Maybe you say, I paid for this assembled. I want it assembled. But at the very least, even if one of the watches that you already own, you don't have to take it to a watchmaker. And I don't even know what the service call is for just putting on a hand. But it gives you that skill set and it gives you that appreciation of what it entails and what goes into it. I think every collector should at least take one apart, like we all did with the broken VCR back in the day. That's a reach, JP. That's a reach. I'm definitely wasn't the generation that took apart the VCR. I had a VCR. Maybe there's some people watching that don't know what that is, but I was never handy until actually watch collecting and doing that attempt and the attraction to being and knowing that I can put whatever parts that I want into the watch. Because again, that first watch that I assembled has gone through so many reiterations. It's gone through so many changes. I've changed out the hands, I've changed out the dial multiple times until it sits to where I want it to sit. But again, the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway is that I now understood what watchmaking really entailed as far as the assembly goes. And I was like, okay, this is not an easy task, right? This is very fragile parts, especially if you guys are messing around and putting on the second hand for your very first time. Now, you guys seen me go, I was actually watching my live where I was attempting to do a live build, and I had to end the first part of it at the second hand because I wasn't able to secure that with the camera in front of me like this. And if you've ever put a watch together, then you know the disadvantage that you're in when it's that far away. And even when I move the camera angle over towards the end, I was still kind of like just off balance. Like when you start assembling a watch and you've done it for a while, you get into this mode and you get into this rhythm, if you will, just like everything else that you're used to. And by then, you know, it was just like I was thrown off. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it usually takes me only a couple of seconds to put the seconds hands on. It's not the truth. There are good days, there's bad days, there's good production, there's bad production. I've had second hands that were clearly not manufactured perfectly. And what would happen is when I attached the second hand on there, it would actually turn and it would pop off. JP, you probably know what I'm talking about. The second hand would actually start rotating and then it would just literally just bing, pop off, not across the room, but off of the watch completely. And I was like, okay, this is weird. I mean, the second hand is hard enough. I don't need this thing to go flying. And that takes time and it takes skill, and you can appreciate that more so if you attempt it yourself. So I'm an advocate for everybody trying to put their own watch together and at least attempt it for those reasons, and I think it's a good thing. Now, I've had the conversation in the community and I've seen responses to posts where people have said watchmaking is for watchmakers, and I don't feel that anybody else outside of that should be attempting it because it's an art, because I appreciate my watches for having that, skill set behind it and having that person assemble it. They felt that that's not the case. It shouldn't be where the public is doing that. But, I respect that opinion. I don't agree with it. I can understand where that person is coming from. But, it's not as if people are assembling watches and trying to sell them after assembling it for the first time, right? If it was actually interrupting the industry in some kind of way, I think that it would be more of a case for me to agree. But in fact, I think it actually helps the industry when people understand more what goes into it. So that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Damn, I just dated myself. Damn, I just dated myself. Nah, man, listen, VCRs, V8, that's not that old, man. That's not as fast as technology actually goes. But, your generation of disassembling VCRs, yeah, man, that you got a couple of years, man. You might have a decade on me, JP. I'm just saying, because I definitely didn't go that far. Hey, Space, you guys are saying what up? Space G's in the building. Waiting for that first release, big dog. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Just release. I've had a few seconds of my hands go flying across the room for sure. Oh, yeah. So, okay, you confirm, man. It's not just me. And again, I attempted to do it live. Is there pressure? Was I nervous? Sure, but could I blame it on the nerves? No. I would say that I wasn't nervous enough to blame it on there. It was just a point in case of I just wasn't getting it. And you know what? Again, I mentioned that in the video too. I was like, I'm glad that this is happening actually, because I want you guys to see, okay, this guy assembled over 50 watches and he's having issues on a second hand and he's stopping and starting again the next day. Guys, if you're going to attempt to build your own watch, especially on the second hand, but this goes for any piece, if you're not getting it, don't try to get fancy. Don't try to think outside the box and say, well, maybe if I position this, like if you know the right way to do it, stick to that and wait till it goes in. Take a deep breath, walk away from it, come back to it the next day. Don't force anything in, because you will bend stuff, you will break stuff, you will scratch stuff. And that's that. You see how delicate watches are once you do that assembly, and it gives you that kind of insight. And that's the reason why I think everybody should attempt building their first watch. Would you, this is my second question to you guys. And I have a particular reason why I'm asking for this question. Would you or have you spent more money on upgrading a value to a watch for upgrades that was more money than the actual watch? So basically, if you bought a Duro, and that's the first thing that came to my mind, and that's the first thing that came to, and I actually had a couple of conversations with a couple enthusiasts after posting my Duro, because on my Duro, I actually swapped out the crystal. I changed it to a bracelet, a Jubilee bracelet that does say Casio. If you guys are on Watch Crunch, you could see that post and you see the example of the watch. I don't have it on me right now, but I ended up spending more money on the upgrades for the Duro than the Duro cost. Now, I want to know what you guys think of that. Is that blasphemy? Is there a cap to that? Like maybe you can understand, okay, the watch cost 50, you spent 60 or $60 to $100 on upgrades. That would pretty much be the cap. Or is it just like free reigns? Is it like, hey man, like do what you want, spend $1,000 on a $50 watch. What are your ideas, man? Because I know that for sure I don't regret, because I had somebody say like they really liked my Duro. I ended up direct messaging them and say, hey, listen, man, you buy the parts, I'll do the mod for you, no problem. Like he was really like appreciating it. And he's like, I don't want to spend thousands of dollars like I've seen on upgrades. And I was like, thinking to myself, I'm like, thousands of dollars? He's like, yeah, I've seen Seiko watches. And that's my second question to you guys now that I'm talking about it. Have you guys seen thousands of dollars put into a Seiko mod, a Seiko upgrade? I mean, that for me was like, dude, what's Seiko? What were you modding out? Gold plated case backs and cases and gold bracelets? Like that seems something suspect about that, because I've never seen a modification to a watch that down the road was thousands of dollars later. My Casio Duro as an example, the bracelet, I think, I don't know the numbers, I'll be honest with you. I had to have spent anywhere from $60 to $100 to upgrade a $50 watch. It's something that I wanted to do because, as you guys know, I'm super affordable when it comes to collecting. Slowly upgrading my cap like most of you do, but at the end of the day, the Duro has a cult following. There's people who have the whole collection. In fact, there was a video not too long ago, you guys could look it up. I forgot the title of it, but look up like a Duro collection or Duro strategy. Oh, I think it was Duro strategy. And the guy was going through the different renditions of the Duro, because I think they have, at this point, 3 different ways. They have a smaller casing, they have the one with the Marlin on it, and then they have the one without it. So they were pretty much giving you the breakdown cost of like importing it and everything else. But yeah, man, I'm curious what you guys say. Like what do you guys think about the upgrades to a watch? What's the cap? Would you do it? I definitely felt the need to do it because I think on the Duro it was a mineral glass, which, listen, I have watches. I have my Vostok. I have my, what else has a mineral crystal? It's not too many, because actually the difference between a mineral glass and a sapphire glass is not a huge upgrade as far as money is concerned. So it's a little confusing as to why companies still do it. Now, I do know that the mineral glass handles clarity and handles glare a little better, but if you own mineral glass before and you happen to brush that crystal up against something, you know as well as I do that that scratch is going to be on there. And then polywatch 1 2 3, it's not, I mean, if it's a hard enough hit, but if it isn't, you should be able to get those scratches out. But for me, I felt like that upgrade to the Duro was necessary. And I also had the added benefit of getting a blued AR coating for that crystal, for that sapphire crystal upgrade on my Duro. Alongside that, I also did a Jubilee bracelet with the Casio buckle, not buckle, clasp. It has the Casio written on there. Now, it's not from Casio, okay? AliExpress, you could find a lot of imitation. You could find a lot of things where it's backdoor stuff. Those stores go up and down, so that's why I'm not going to probably provide a link to show you guys where I got it, because the store probably no longer exists, which most likely the store just moved. But, you know, I was okay with it because it's a Casio. And listen, if you got that bracelet from Casio, it being a Jubilee and it saying all those things and having the engravings on it, bracelet's going to be around $60 to $100 alone. And on AliExpress, I think I picked that up for like 20 bucks. So I did that. I didn't change the hands. I left that alone. I feel like I did something else. I can't remember now. I did the crystal. I did the, oh, and I changed the bezel insert. So I had the Batman colorway, the black and blue. But for some reason, Casio had the blue second hand on that edition. And the blue second hand didn't match the blue on the bezel insert. So, you know, I didn't buy the actual bezel where it's the metal piece. I just changed out the actual insert with a color that matches the second hand perfectly. So that's just, it was worth it. And again, that was probably like $60 to $100. So let me know if you guys are as crazy as I am. Have you done upgrades to a watch where your upgrades cost more than the watch itself? It's also the case. Nah, I didn't go over budget. Or rather, I didn't go over the price of the watch on my Vostok, but I can say that I was a little shell-shocked. I remember the Vostok Amphibia. It's one of the ones that Teddy Baltazar featured. He got me. Teddy Baltazar got me. You know, you gotta be careful watching Teddy Baltazar videos because he gives a breakdown of a watch, and he's so enthusiastic about watches that he could have you all of a sudden lusting for a watch. And I was, and I wanted that, and I think I got a little bit of a different rendition. But the point is that I wanted to change the bezel because it was a little flat. It was stainless steel, and it was all stainless, but it had no pop. It had no separation. And I actually found, which was harder. I know Vostok watches are also another watch that people like to mod, but for some reason, and maybe it's an AliExpress thing, but I had to search through eBay. I didn't see anything on AliExpress at the time for the upgrades, so I hunted down a new bezel and I found one. That was $30 plus dollars, right? And for me, it was like, okay, this watch, the whole watch cost me $70, $75, somewhere around there. So a $30 upgrade, was it worth it? For me, it was, because now it has that little pop. It actually has like a bluing around the side of it. It's really cool. If you guys want to see it again, go to my Watch Crunch, go to my WRUW, which is just your wrist watch for the day that you're wearing, and you'll see some images of it. And I think it's really cool. I think it was really worth it. So I ran with it. Let me catch up. Oscar's in the building. XCal's in the building. What's going on, gentlemen? Good afternoon. Happy Sunday. I have one mod that I got crazy on. Over $800 in upgrades. Oh, snap. I need more. I needed more information, JP, because, okay, so was this a Seiko? What was the parts? I know it's a lot for you to type, but see now, that is information that I was actually looking for, because when the gentleman hit me back, he was like, I don't want to spend well, he said thousands of dollars, but maybe he was being slightly over exaggerating about it. And, you know, maybe he meant close to $1,000. And in this case, you're saying it's an $800 in upgrade. So it sounds like to me, like you just almost built a new watch at that point. Maybe like 2 or 3 original things that you left, but it sounds like you changed the crown, the bezel, the bracelet. You probably left the dial, if I had to guess. You changed the hands. Maybe you changed the dial too. Maybe you just used the case, bro. That's $800. Sheesh. I guess it depends on also where you're sourcing, right? Because when I was thinking about the question, I was like, okay, AliExpress has, but maybe JP, in your situation, you were getting high quality parts, which I know is the case. Judging by all the videos that you make, you pretty much only use high quality parts. And we know this from the watch. Ah, man, I had your watch too. I was gonna show it. Where is it? Ah, man, it's inside. Dang it. Dang it. I already tore it apart and spread the parts around 2 other builds. Yeah, that happens, right? That happens. Once you're locked into modding, your chances are you start getting stuff in bulk. You start having, I have a drawer that's just watch hands, NH35 watch hands. At one point, I had a stack of dials. So when you get custom dials, you can go and get them through AliExpress. You send the renderings. I've talked about this before. You send the renderings, they send it back. So if you have a couple of dials that you want to have stamped with the logo that you made, it's better that you buy them in bulk. A, because you save from the shipping, but B, you're using the same mold to make that logo, and you could just have those batches of dials sent into you if you want to just start playing around a lot and you know that this is not going to be my only build and I'm going to do a couple more. But what happens is when you play around with watches as much as we do, I don't do as much as JP does, but I can understand that those parts get shifted around, they go into other watches, you start having a different feel for the build that you did, and you said that, you know, this will work here, this will work there, you know what I mean? I already tore it apart and spread it, yeah. In a Grand Seiko case now. Okay, wow. So like an actual Grand Seiko case? That's crazy. Meteorite dial, probably. Probably. JP has some crazy dials. Space G's sad for some reason. I have a couple of those too, Oscar. LOL, nice. Meteorite dial. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you have a little bit of everything, bro. So that's just how it goes. I'm trying to just scroll up. Maybe I missed something. I don't know why my boy Space G's. You think Diddy? Oh, wait. I missed one. Rimple. You think Diddy would get his cheeks clapped in prison? I hope not, man. That's I wouldn't wish that on my enemy, you know what I'm saying? Cheeks clapped. I like that. Yeah, at least he kept it PG to some degree. You know what I mean? If you're gonna troll, he's like a classy troll, I guess. Okay, so my next question for you guys. That was that question. Okay, I didn't even look at my notes. And I brought up the Vostok in February. Okay, so my next question, my next question just says bun strap or nah. Bun strap, man. Bun strap. Not something that you commonly see between enthusiasts. And I'm not saying that there's not a lot of people out there that mess with it, but what I am saying is that it's not a common band that we've seen too much. And I want to know if you guys at least given it a shot. Have you experienced it? Do you like bun straps? Are they too much material on the wrist? Are they too large? So one of the things that I've experienced going through a couple of bun straps was quality, which you can get around by going to a reputable company, right? If I mess around and I get on Vario's website, I'm sure that they're gonna make a nice leather bun strap. Problem becomes with the material behind it. Now, the way that I see it works, I don't think it matters as much. It's kind of cool to have a smaller watch on a bun strap for some reason because you have that big gaudy leather and then you have that watch just chilling in the middle. So it's like, it's interesting to see that. But it's also cool to have a larger watch. However, 13.5, 14 millimeter thickness plus the leather strap may be too big, maybe too gaudy. You might catch like the doorways a little bit too much. Do you guys own bun straps? Do you guys like bun straps? Have you tried them yourself? I've definitely gone through cheaper ones. I don't think I have had too many. Did I get one from Vario? I feel like I did. That one was nice. But all the other ones I got, I believe, from AliExpress. And maybe that's going to be my next assignment. I'm going to look to see who makes a really good, supple bun strap. And or does anybody mess around with any other material besides leather on the bun strap, right? Could you do it in a different material? Has it been done? I'm curious to know. But at the end of the day, I think that they're a cool look. They're a little bit of a refresher for the straps that you wear. Never heard of those straps before. But so bun strap is those, you've definitely seen it, Oscar. Maybe I'm saying it the wrong way. Who knows? Bun straps are those big leather straps that sit on your wrist and then the watch sits on top of it, and it's to prevent contact from the back of the case to your wrist. And that's beneficial for people going into a very cold climate where the steel behind the watch would actually become too cold. I don't know about too hot, but I definitely know too cold. So it actually keeps that watch back or that case back off of your wrist, and it's just a big leather piece, and it usually stays thick throughout. So you've definitely seen them. Maybe I could pull up an image. This is why I have my personal assistant with me. Let's see. Let me pull up an image for my buddy over here. Bun strap. Or is it bun, like B-U-N-D, or is it B-U-N? Okay, I'm getting images of like hair buns. That's not what we mean. Bun strap for watches. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Let me see if I can show this image. That's a bun strap. Wait, here we go. That's a bun strap. So the watch actually sits in the middle, and then all of this material just protects your wrist from making contact to it. And Bund, B-U-N-D. Okay, so that was my issue. Bund strap. So that's that. Trap Vision 3D, what's up, brother, man? I appreciate you stepping in. I know you probably got a lot of recording that you had to do yesterday. Thank you for giving us that content of you being at that show at Trifecta. That was very, I wish the Wi-Fi, man, we talk off camera about it, and it's not a simple thing doing these recordings and getting everything. I know you held your composure. Oh, hold on. There you go, Trap. You held your composure, sir. But I can understand that Wi-Fi connection was frustrating you when you were trying to get, that conversation going and trying to talk to Rob, and then you went to the back to see the watches that they had in a special showcase, and the Wi-Fi was just in and out, man. That sucks, but I appreciate you stepping in, man. I really do. All right, so what's the next? So yeah, man, I don't know if did you guys answer about the bun strap? Do you guys attempt it? No, you just like hearing me rant about it and Google stuff? No problem. I posted his Omega Speedy White Dial on a black bun strap. It's fire, right? Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, especially on vintage watches, that bun strap looks amazing. And again, when you have a smaller casing on there, and especially like a smaller thickness, I would say, listen, live your life. I even right now, you guys know the Milk House Watch Crunch inspired watch that I built. I have that on a Bund strap right now. If you go to my Watch Crunch and you look up the shots that I did, I think the last shot that I have on it, and it's currently on it right now. See, yeah, that Wi-Fi was annoying. So let me see, let me catch up. They called military straps, if I am not wrong. Are they called military straps? I always just assumed that the NATO strap was considered a military strap, but you might be right. You might be right, man. Who knows? All right, so let's move on. Let's move on. I think the Bund strap is cool. I definitely have one. I'm still looking. I don't know if you guys know a good place that makes a very good one. I know that I got one. Matter of fact, yeah, for sure. I have that Watch Crunch inspired modification that I did, the Milk House one, on a Bund strap from Vario, and theirs was very supple. And the problem that you get with those straps is that because of the thickness, if it isn't good quality, it's not going to feel right. It's not going to sit flush, and that's a strap that you need to be supple because of how much material is on there, but also when it curves around your wrist, you don't want any flaring up and stuff like that. You want the at least side profile to be as flush to the wrist as you can. So I like Vario's version. I like Vario. If you guys know anybody who else is making a mean Bund strap, let your boy know. All right, so let's talk about watch releases, man. There's been a lot of them. There's been everybody's talking about them. It's coming up a lot. And I mentioned on my last live that it makes sense, especially in the micro brand or independent brand space, because you have the shows coming. So obviously they want something to talk about. They want something to present. And which watch releases got you guys fired up? Which ones do you guys like the most in the micro brand space? And sticking specifically to the micro brand in this case, because I've seen a lot of them come out. You've got Jacques Mason. See, we can't say Jack Mason no more, okay? Now that they infused Swiss, they're fancy. They got fancy now, so now we say Jacques Mason. They have their Canton, right, which I'm calling the Swiss Canton. We had a very lovely conversation about that. I forget the person who mentioned it, but they were asking me, is Jack Mason now stepping away from their roots, right? They had a lot of Texas pride. They had a lot of like a lot of roots towards not being a Swiss, right? And now that they're infusing Swiss, we had a very good conversation here with the chat, and I said, hey, listen, man, I can't fault anyone, right? Not just Jacques Mason, stepping outside and offering something different, right? What's the next step? What's the next thing that we're gonna do, or how can we please the people who are following us that are asking us? Because I'm sure they got a bunch of questions, or at least a bunch of requests saying, hey, we value Swiss movements. Can you please make us a Swiss made watch? And we also had some more information going back and forth where a lot of you told me that it only has to be 60% to be considered Swiss made. And my end conversation to that was, I respect what they're doing. I understand that they have to also open up a different door to please other customers and their requests. And I don't think for a minute that that is going to be the end all be all for Jacques Mason moving forward. I believe that they're going to come back and they're going to do redesigns. They're already doing redesigns, and they're going to go back to more of their roots if that's something that you like. And I'm waiting for that Dr. Pepper to be re-released too. Laurier, man, they came out with, I think it's pronounced the Zephyr. And I was actually, and it's not a watch that has been talked about. And I think it was released, the first day it was released was yesterday. And if you haven't seen that watch yet, matter of fact, let's pull it up while I'm talking. If you haven't seen that watch yet, what made me excited to talk about it, and my brother-in-law might be on this live as well. I told him that I was going live. We were talking a little bit before this. And it made me think of him, because as you guys know, I won that Vario Versa, and that's actually going to him. But this case design, and if my brother-in-law is watching this, he may like this part. This is nice, man. This is nice. So we have another one of those rectangular looks. Very classy, two-hander. And the hands are blued, very sharp, very nicely done. And Miyota movement, if I'm not mistaken, in this. Matter of fact, it's the Miyota 9039. Hold on, let me pull up the specifications. 9029, excuse me. So you're getting a higher beat in this, still a Japanese movement, right? But very classy looking watch. Now, that case design is not for me, but it is a new release for them, and I think it looks fantastic. Now, Do they have different colorways for this watch? I believe that they do, but that's something that I want to be excited for seeing at the show as well, right? Because it's a newer release. It's a handsome watch. It's very sharp, well, very well done. I want to get up on the watch and look at some of the details. But that's another release that I'm excited for. Of course, we got to talk about the Chris Ward C60, the Trident Lumiere, right? Awesome watch, awesome watch. And a lot of people were, especially on the black colorway, they were comparing that to the Tudor Pelagos, I believe. And somebody made a comparison video of, is this I love when people, shake and rock the boat when they're like, is this like a Tudor Pelagos killer? I'm like, man, watches don't replace each other. They could be inspirations, they could give more value, but it all depends on, like, somebody could look at Chris Ward and say, I have no value in Chris Ward because they're still an independent brand. And I'm making up the scenario, no disrespect, but it depends on what you value. And a lot of people might value a Tudor over that, or might vice versa, right? So I don't think watches are necessarily killers of each other. More so, it gives a different option for what the person is valuing at the end of the day. And we all know by now, I'm sure we all know about that Chris Ward watch, and that's a phenomenal watch. Amazing specs. The main, I guess there's two main takeaways for that Chris Ward release. That one being the loom on there, the loom blocks, as they're calling it. And also the thinness of that watch. I think that is, let's pull it up, man. I think that is close to 11, is it close to 11 millimeters, or is it, we'll pull it up real quick. Got to get our facts straight. And then the last one we'll talk about as far as new releases go. And these got me kind of fired up, to be honest with you. I think that it's nice to see all of these evolutions and seeing where these brands are taking, their watches. What's the next step for them? We're seeing them evolve right in front of our face. Jacques Mason is another example of that, going with the Swiss, at least in my opinion, trying out something of a higher caliber and offering us good features on the watch. We're seeing evolutions, and I know in my heart that we're going to see micro brands actually get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's going to be a lot harder to call them micro brands at a certain point. So the biggest thing also is the movement in there, which allowed them to get it to be smaller, right? I'm just looking up the dimensions now, because that was one of the big things, man. To be a 300-meter watch and to still have it looking like a skin diver is a big deal, and that's a step away amongst the design, amongst the technology, amongst the loom blocks on there. Obviously, the movement is very, very nice. Obviously, they have a very nice adjustment bracelet on there. Grade 2 titanium, which I like. Grade 2 titanium. So for me, grade 2, grade 5, whatever, like the grade 2 looks like titanium. You know what I mean? Like the other titanium, there's mixed metals in there. It's harder to work with. It's usually more expensive. But I like the watch to look like titanium if it is in fact titanium, because it's just another material that separates what you already have in your collection. So for me, that's another thing that was a big takeaway for that watch. And I think it's a phenomenal thing that they've added to the collection. So I'm just looking up the specs here. 28 hertz. Okay, Solita 300. Okay, the height. Yeah, so sub 11 millimeters. That's impressive. Being still a 300-meter watch, I mean, you have Omegas that are 300 meters and they're thicker, right? So Chris Ward is, they've been doing their thing, and that's a very impressive watch. And again, I know you guys have heard it talked about a lot. It's already been something that's been reviewed many, many times before. That orange colorway is to die for. Random Rob must be licking his lips for this one, man. But those loom blocks really stand out, really give a lot of definition. Obviously, they're going to absorb a lot of sunlight, being primarily made up of that. I'm interested to learn more about those loom blocks and exactly how they function. But I love that it has like a skeletonized hands on it. Very, very nice stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, let me pull up a loom shot. Yeah, Chris Ward symbol is actually loomed as well, made up of those loom blocks. Beautiful watch. And when you talk about having that colorway on a dial for a diver, very, very smart. I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is Doxa when I see a dial color like that and it's a diver, but your bang for your buck, Swiss movement, all of these innovations, all of these designs, the thing that these independent brands have the ability to go into and change, it's a nice watch, man. I almost didn't want to talk about it because it's talked about so much, but you got to give them their flowers. Baltic, the Prismic Stone release, fire. Baltic is another one, man. So vintage inspired design, opening. They have locations. I believe they have 3 primary locations, and being able to walk into there and them now making this kind of like exclusive. Now I think that they're gonna also I think it's like 200 per for this watch, but I think that from what I saw on the website, they have other iterations and other colorways that are gonna come out, and I think that they're not gonna be. I don't know if they're gonna be limited actually, but these are the 3 that we're talking about right now, right? And they're all designated to different locations. One's New York, one's London, and one is Paris, and that's the locations of their stores. Beautiful, beautiful dials, man. Like Kevin O'Leary would salivate, and I think he would pull the trigger. And when he finds out that it's $1,200, him being used to spending much more than that, he would. I could already see that episode with Teddy Baldassar and him giving like the full spec rundown off the top of his brain because he's an absolute robot. And then Kevin O'Leary's like, "Oh, how much? How much is this watch?" And then he goes, "$1,200." Oh my God, $1,200. But here are the other colorways that I'm talking about, and these are, yes, this says back in early November. Okay, so maybe these already came out and they're just re-releasing them, but these are the other colorways that I'm talking about. The other ones are limited edition, but very, very nice styles, and I like that secondhand, that sub secondhand bracelet is very nice on mesh. It goes and connects to those lugs very, very nicely. So those are the ones that I wouldn't say like are gonna make me run to the website and buy, but very impressive stuff, and all of them have a nod to an evolution or to the next step of where they're going for sure. Let me catch up on chat. I'm chatting my brains out over here. Let's go back. Hang on. Boom, boom, boom. Woof. Driving and listening. Okay, man. Drive safe, bro. When are you and Rob going live? Not sure. Okay. Lumiere. Yep. Okay. Just catching up on chat. Give me a second over here. Another brand called Night. Okay, Oscar. So, is another brand. Now, I haven't heard of that brand before. NITE. Let's look that up real quick with my personal assistant. Let's see. Night, NITE, and I'll just put watches. Not reviews, I just want to go to watches. Now, is there a specific release that this company has came out with, or are you saying that Dive watches? Okay. So I think this is the company you're talking about. Now, I don't know if there's a particular release that you're interested in from them, or are they just a new micro brand? Because I haven't heard of them yet. That doesn't mean that they didn't exist. Obviously, I don't know everything, but they already have a whole bunch of a couple of lines. A surf, a blackout, a desert black. Okay. Very cool, man. Very cool. I'm definitely going to look into this. We'll save this and look into it. But is there a specific watch from them that you're looking for, Oscar, that was released on that? Those night divers are dope. A word? Let's take a look. Okay. So very, very nice. This is like how I do when I do my micro brand segment. This is not that, but right now we're in the topic of. So Swiss made Ronda, 300 meter screw down, battery life. Okay, so this one in particular, got you. 10-year battery life. Sheesh. Okay. 10 years. That's pretty good. Wow. I think that's, oh, look at that loom. Woo, look at that loom. I like it a lot. Tritium illumination. Oh, okay. I like it. Very nice. Yeah, I'm definitely going to do my homework on them a little bit more, for sure. Appreciate you. Divers are dope. Sky 100%. That's what's so cool about Citizen Super Titanium Grade 2, but it has the hardest. Yeah, so that's the way around it, right, Space? Like, I think that that's what makes it really cool, having that darkened metallic look to it. So it's like, okay, that's definitely titanium. Hardened coating. Now I don't know the cost of adding a hardened coating on it, but I would say I would prefer, and I know that the grade 5 is much harder to scratch, but again, because of the look, I would prefer to have the grade 2 to get that titanium look and then the hardened coating on it. But again, I don't know what that means for the watch, how much money that means into it, but that's what I would like. Citizen watches are good. Citizen watches are good and their new designs are fire. Yeah, man, Citizen watches. So Travis covers Citizen watches. Travis is a Citizen rep, I think, low key. He might be getting a bag from them. But he is the spokesperson for Citizen and he goes by it. And I get why, man. And I'll tell you what, man, I haven't really like gone. I always knew that Citizen watches are good. And I like their solar technology for sure. I have a Citizen watch. I have the Blue Angels edition, as probably most of you know, and it's on point. It's on the money. It's clean. It's super. It's super well made, and I think that almost all of their watches are. I'm gonna go ahead and say this on camera. I think Citizen watches have taken the lead when you compare the Citizen lineup to the Seiko lineup at this point, honestly, and we're of course we're talking about Seiko, not Grand Seiko, right? But they're definitely a contender, man. All the movements that they make, all the designs. I think that what makes them great is their quality, their design, and their innovation. So they're right there with Seiko. They're like head to head when it comes to that stuff too. Right now on the Citizen website, the first thing that comes up is this AT model. It's a chrono, and they're claiming it to be their best seller. Now the color dialway is kind of really crazy, like a crazy ruby, a crazy sunburst. It kind of looks, I don't know, maybe. Oh, it looks like it's detailed like like a moon type of thing. Fire. I really like it. Yeah, man. I need to really dive deeper back into Citizen, I think, because a lot of people are talking very highly of them, and a lot of people are appreciating a lot of their releases. And of course, like I just mentioned before, I know that their build qualities are very, very good. I know that a lot of people collect them, and they're very, very nice as far as it goes. So I definitely will. Citizen watches. Okay, yep. I have a full loom Citizen. Okay. I don't really like it. Okay. I mean, listen, man. It is what it is. No, I believe are they're a new brand. So Knight is a new brand. Okay, cool, cool. Well, for a new brand, I mean, you know, new, the word new is might be relative, right? They may have been around for like a year or two, but they already have like quite a few models. And I do like the dive models. And listen, I haven't, I don't know if that Rondo movement has a sweeping movement, but I can tell you this. After experiencing about vintage and seeing that you can still get a smooth sweep with a quartz watch, and I'll be honest with you, I just learned that, man. I just learned that. I didn't know that those exist. I actually tried to wind the watch. No cap, gang. I'll be honest with you. I got the watch. I'm like, okay, cool. It probably needs a nice wind. It was already moving, obviously, because it's quartz. And I'm like doing like, and I'm like, okay, something's up here, right? Even this watch is either the keyless work is busted and it's just getting power from the rotor, or, and then I went on the website and I was like, oh snap. And affordable movement, reliable movement. I don't remember how many years that battery lasts for, but it put me onto that game, man. They put me onto that knowledge, and I'm like, this is really, really cool. And then I looked up that actual movement cost is it's way more affordable than doing an NH35. So if I could find enough parts, I'd be interested. Or if I could find a what do you call it, JP? You might know about a movement spacer that can convert what you would have built for an NH35 case for what's the name of that movement? If I forget it, man, I forget it. But I need to find a spacer for it, because what I'd like to do is I'd like to switch the watches I built for my father and my mother to quartz. So I'm looking for something that's going to be quartz with a second-hand sweep that would have fit an NH35. But then there's also the issue of finding hands that me and JP have to talk to find hands with it. But I think they're not really into the mechanical watches, so they're not really gonna fuss with it. So I got to change them to quartz. All right, so I got another question for you guys. Let me catch up on chat before I go on. No, I believe they're a brand new band. Yeah, another brand called Holgar. Holgar, they are pretty cool. Man, Oscar, you got the names on deck. Let's check them out. Holgar reminds me of Holdor. Hold the door. Holgar. Holgar watches. This is how we do. This is how we do. This is how we trade information. Holgar. Now they're saying they're going by, okay, so they have that whole luxury watch kind of vibe. 1,200 doll hairs is the first thing that I'm seeing. Got a pink dial way here. Chrono there. Okay. So this is the company that he's talking about, Holgar. I believe that that's the company. And we have these watches. We have those chronos. We have these. So let's take a look. Let's take a gander, shall we? Let's go with the non-chrono, and let's go with... Now, you know what? Let's look at the chronograph. I'm sure that this is a quartz movement, no? Unless this is like this is an ETA. Yeah, Swiss quartz movement. Okay, cool. So they're messing with Swiss movements on there. I see the language design. Nothing that really drives me wild. It looks like a good watch at the end of the day. I like this one. That beige and gold chrono, that's pretty cool. That's pretty nice. So primarily it looks like chronos for them. That's another watch company that I will take a look at, man, and see more about them. And I like that they include women watches on that. Check out, by the way, I don't work for them nor review them, just look into the watches. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, man, so there's a lot of people like my man Oscar and many of you probably that are information hunters and company like finders, right? That you could find a new watch company every single day. Matter of fact, you could probably find 10 a day and then learn about them. So this is good. Look, you guys are gonna vet them. So I'm sure that they're pretty much a decent brand. Check out Avium watches. Let's see. Let's take a gander. Avium timepieces. I'm probably butchering that name, but I'm already liking what I see for this case design. That's something that's different, right? I like that. And what did you say? Check out blah, blah, blah. Canadian guy out in Japan. Nice. Okay, this is very nice too. Oh, I like that. Look at that aperture. Hold on, look at that aperture. I like that. Very nice. Like that kind of like metal grid type of look to it. Looks like the back of a pickup with that stainless steel look. That's pretty cool, man. Nice. I'll definitely look into this as well, for sure. I like the case design off bat. Let me see. Hand makes most. Okay, he's hands-on with the watches. Very cool. All right, so I got another question for you guys. For those who've been collecting for a few years now, is there a distinctive feel that you get when you know the watch that you just added to the collection is in fact the proper addition to your collection? Now, I'm asking you guys this because I'm at that crossroads, right? I've said it once, I've said it a million times. I'm taking my time at this point on what I like to add to the collection. Minus the watches that get sent in for reviews, and some of them do let me keep them. But that's not me technically purchasing the watch. I'm kind of cooling on that. But let me ask you this. I'm sure there's a lot of collectors out there that have already gone to that crossroads, and like, is the feeling more like concrete for you when you add a timepiece where you're like, okay, I waited some time, I did some homework, I did enough. I probably saw the watch in person, so I know for a fact it fits nicely on my wrist. I've seen all the details, I know the quality, I've done all the homework. Now, is that feeling when you put that watch in your collection still something where you have some doubt in your mind where you're like, hopefully I don't have that honeymoon phase doesn't phase out too much and I don't like the watch anymore? Or is it all just trial and error at the end of the day and you do the best you can to pick it out, right? Because that's where I'm at, and I'm hoping that I'm able to do enough research and to know what I feel my collection is missing at this point and what would be the best fit for me. Because you could say, okay, I'm missing bronze and I'm missing this kind of color dialway. And then you could probably find 30 of those watches from companies that you like, maybe more one than the other. But how do we really know when we have that feeling of like, yeah, this was it. This was the watch that needs to go in the collection. This is the watch that needs to come in. I don't know. He hand makes it, nice watches, Dad. Reach out to him. His name is Brian. Great guy. For sure, for sure. I'll definitely reach out to him. I'll see what's going on. But yeah, that's my question to you guys. And I don't know, because I'm in a stalemate with my collection right now. In that I want to appreciate what I already have and what already exists in the collection. So I guess I'll let you guys know about that moving forward. I'm hoping that I make a more informed decision at this point, especially now that I know that I'm raising the bar on what I'm going to introduce, being that I'm not buying as frequently. But I just hope that I don't get into a scenario where it's like, man, I thought I wanted this watch. And then I've heard a lot of stories where people go in and out, right? Like they sell the watch, then they want the watch back. And for me, it's like, I married my watches that I put in my collection, even the ones that I ran through and I added to quickly or whatever the case may be. Like, if I don't like that watch any longer, I'm probably going to give it away. I'm probably not going to sell it. So it's a little bit more connected as far as that goes for me. I know that it's a watch for me when my wallet starts to tingle. Your wallet actually tingles. That's like some spidey senses that you got going on there. Yeah, man. I don't know what that feeling looks like right now, to be honest with you, because I definitely get a lot of interest on seeing particular things being released, but I don't know what it looks like. I'm really looking at my next move. Like, I'm like, okay, what is the next piece that I'm really going to introduce into the collection? And I'm kind of like spying on myself to see what that end result is going to be. What is the diminishing return price point for getting quality on watches minus the heritage and the in-house movements? That's my question to you guys. What is the diminishing return? And I know this is not like, there's no one answer, and everybody values different things, and some people are even going to be a little bent because I said minus heritage and I said minus the in-house movement, because for a lot of people that is what they value and that's what they want to put in the collection. But those are obvious things and obvious arguments that we can say has value and could be like an up and down conversation. But if we remove that and we strip the watch and leave just design, finishing, and quality of movement, regardless if it's in-house or not. And I know all those things factor in, but I know that everybody has a personal opinion on this, and I am curious on what each and individual person's cap is for that, right? Like, what do you say, like, okay, if I get a $1,200 watch, I'm not getting much more if I spent $15, $2,000, $3,000, because we have a lot of well, not a lot of companies, but now we have Chris Ward who's telling you black and white. We do a ×3 type of thing. How much the watch costs to be made, and then we times it by 3, and that's what you're paying for. So we can do a lot of math, right, from there and figure things out. Them using a lot of Swiss movements, them having the designs, them having the innovations. There's a lot to that. And Chris Ward usually is, and now they have watches that go up there, but I want to say average what? Chris Ward is like 12, 15, $2,000. So what is the price point that you guys say? And I don't really want to give my answer. I really want to see what you guys have to say about that. What's the price point that you say where it's like, it's diminishing returns now? Like, it's not going to get any better in the finishing. The designs are kind of like up and down. And then we know what the cost is for most Swiss movements, whether it be the SW2, 300, whatever, you know? Let's see. You're the greatest of all time. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Skylar Santana makes the best watches ever. Wow, bro. I don't know about all of that. And, I'm not a official watchmaker. I could put a couple of things together, but I'm not. I appreciate the compliment. I appreciate the compliment, though. That blue strap looks fire, Skylar. Nice to see you, bro. Protect Philippe. What's up, brother, man? I'm still Protect, man. I'm still looking for when Archie has reached out to me. He wants me to hop on and talk micro brands to him. I'm definitely interested in still doing that, but he went on live today, and for me it was 6 in the morning, so I was like, it's a little early, like, eh? And I know he does 1 in the morning, 1 at night, but eventually I'll definitely get up on there. Protect Philippe, thank you for coming in. Check Prevail watches. Okay, I shall. But yeah, man, let me know what you guys think, man, on that price point. What's the diminishing return price point? I might have to answer this. I might have to answer this myself on what I think the starting price for diminishing returns are in general, minus the heritage and minus the in-house movement. Because it's hard to put a value on that, right? Because at that point, you could just say this watch is worth 20 grand, could come out of the same manufacturing for all you know, but this watch company is presenting it and and trust them. So they're telling you that watch is 10 grand, and the same watch company, and we know that happens, right? I'm not talking out of air here. We know that a lot of different companies are getting from the same manufacturing. Now, there's other things that are into play as far as assembling the watch, but there's definitely a thing on that. Kunta. Yes. I guess it's, yes, you are. But best teeth in the game too. I'm telling you, man, that's a classy troll, I guess. I don't know, man. I appreciate that too. I don't know if I have the best teeth in the game either. Hold on, man. Let me. I forgot the name of the company. All right, let's check out these watches that Oscar has got the gems, huh? My man Oscar has got the gems for you. AIL. Watches. Definitely got to put watches on there, otherwise you get some funky stuff come up sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I'm seeing an Instagram come up for that. I don't know if they have a website. Hang on. They do have a website, eh? I'm already seeing some interesting case designs, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on. This ain't it. Let's go to the gram. I'm going to pull up those, but let me see if anybody answered that question. JP, I think around $1,000 is the sweet spot. Yeah. I think that was going to be my answer, JP. I think, yeah, I got sleeves on today, bro. I got sleeves on. Somebody mentioned that too. I was like, man, I got sleeves on my shirts, bro. That's not why I wore it. It's actually a little bit cooler here today, so I didn't need to go sleeveless. But I did get called out for always wearing sleeveless shirts. So I was like, all right. Oh, these are cool watches, man. These are cool watches. Big old hunk of steel, right? Big, bold hour and minute hand. Unique design on the hour markers, kind of like a circle and an up backwards, upside down, whatever you want to call it. I like it. Are those loomed? Probably. But I'm looking at the Instagram now. Now, a lot of these are on NATO straps, so I don't think that they're putting this on bracelet. But that's fire, man. Look at that green, big, bold numbers on there. Syringe hands, also big and bold. Super tooly. I like it. Here go the loom shot on it. So that's cool. That's probably C3, but applied handsomely, it looks like. I don't know, because I don't have the watch in hand to run a little test on it. Super Luminova C3, yeah, it says it right underneath. Gives me like a Victronox vibe, yeah? Like I got a Victronox early on, and I love their watches, man. Quartz watch, you can get it in automatic now, but Victronox makes like a solid piece of steel. Like, you've not held a quartz watch with heft until you've held a Victronox. And I'm sure there's a lot of them out there, but Victronox Ionics, I think it's called. I love that watch. It was my first official beater watch, and I believe they take a piece of metal and they actually press the metal to create, the actual dial and everything else. And then they have videos of tanks running over and stuff like that. But It's got a lot of scratches. It's got a lot of bumps and bruises, but definitely. And I went quartz on that for a reason because I'm like, okay, not to say that an automatic watch couldn't be well robust and super sturdy and to be used as a beater. You can absolutely get a beater watch in a mechanical, but it being quartz, it could take more punishment as a movement, I believe. So I went with Victorinox as far as that goes, but I really liked what I'm seeing here for them. As far as the company, the designs are very different. They're giving you close-ups on finishing as well. That's interesting. All those ridges and teeth and stuff like that. So very cool watch. I think we're getting some molding here. They're showing us what the molding is, and I think that's earlier on. Yeah, so that's earlier on in their photos. It looks like it's like a newer company. I don't know how old these images are, but that's a 3D printed prototype. Very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. Very interesting company. Let me go back to chat. Around $1,000. Yeah, I answered that. Yeah, I think so too, JP. If it's a little bit more, depending on what the situation is, and like obviously, okay, if you go with a Chris Ward, it's going to be a little bit above $1,000. But if you take an example of their design, the loom blocks, getting a smaller case design, like we just talked about their new release, it's definitely worth going a couple bucks more. And then of course, we have the other added benefits as well. The sleeves, got the sleeves today too. Not a troll. I'm a loyal fan and customer. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I was just joking about the troll, man. Obviously, you're not a troll. If you were a troll, you'd be saying much weirder stuff. Much weirder stuff. I appreciate you coming in, checking it out. Nautica Watch Corp. Remember the name. Yes, sir. Shameless plug. So, Dad Mod's watches, as you guys know, I've mentioned this a billion times. I actually had the watch on me, but it's inside, and I don't want to like drag the 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 phone all the way in. Unless you guys want me to go, let me know in the chat, man. Let me know if you want to see Dad Mod's watches. See his new watch. Noc, I think that's pronounced Noctua, which means little owl. Yep, I like those. They look cool, Dad. Thanks, Oscar. I agree. Yeah, and with that watch that JP's coming out with, man, it's super tooly and a big watch. When it comes to like, I know a lot of you guys like that bigger size watch, so his watch is gonna fulfill that need. And I've already talked about a lot of the benefits, but let me know if you guys want. JP, don't be ashamed if you want me to go and grab it too. No, it's good, bro. Wait until we got the whole kit. You're right. You're right. So, guys, what he's referring to is I have the super prototype right now. He's working hard, man. And I'm excited to introduce this new micro brand onto the scene with you guys. But what he sent me so far is super prototype, and he's got a lot of things going on without spilling the tea too much, and a lot of different iterations that he's gonna do before actual release. So for me to show it to you now, I've already shown it before, but because I'm now aware that there's gonna be a lot of changes to that watch, he's absolutely right. We should wait till we get it a little bit more linked up. All right, so let's move on to the next question. I really do like these watches. This also gives me like a Janggung kind of feel to it too. Like I could see them coming out. Now this is a wide, I don't even know the size and dimensions on this, but this is a wide watch. This is a big boy. It's probably very hefty, but it's very interesting. And it reminds me of the Janggung type of vibe. Definitely unique in design. I mean, listen, somewhere somebody used some of these designs. We know it's very difficult. I like that crown being tucked in there and kind of like it's a big crown, but it's still like in the wing of that side. The other one being kind of like rigid. That's very interesting. I'm sure that there's reasons to it, but it's a very cool watch. I appreciate you bringing that up and let me take a gander at it. That was good, but wait till, okay, we read that. So what's the next question? What's the next question? What else we got here? How long are we gone for? Ooh, well over the hour. So we'll end it on this next question because I don't like to make these too long. I like to be respectful of everybody's time. I appreciate you guys for the ones who are still hanging on and checking it out. One of the ones I like the most, kind of think of getting one of those. Copy that. Copy that. For those who are collecting, are my oh, is this the next question? For those who have been collecting for a few years, what is the? Yeah, I said that. Are milestone watch? No, wait, hold on. Yeah. So this is the next question. Are milestone watches the best way to collect or add watches to your collection? So that goes back to I should have tied that probably with the question of is there a particular definite feeling for you to know that the watch you're just adding, as a more experienced buyer, as a more experienced collector, is there a particular feeling, that you get? But now, milestone watches are talked about a lot in the space, and I've had milestone watches. I actually talked about my milestone watch. I couldn't think of the name milestone last time, but a lot of people attach watches their firstborn, a place in their career where they elevated and had a significant, bump up and stuff like that. But are milestone watches the most valuable way, I would say, right? Or, is it the best way? I don't know if I want to say the best way, but is it the most because you're automatically locked in, right? When you have that kind of success or journey in your life and you buy that watch, it's almost already secured with you falling out of love for it. Why? We're memory kind of animals, right? Nobody really talks about this, but good or bad, the memories that you can recall in your mind most vividly are the ones that are attached to an emotion. And getting a milestone watch brings that emotion out, and it brings you back to that place where you were when you purchased it, why you purchased it. It has meaning. And I would say that that's probably the best safeguard for you to secure that feeling. It might even, if you fall out of a love for a design or if a watch wasn't what you expected, not like, oh, this watch is too big on my wrist. Damn, I don't really want it no more. But now that watch is attached to that memory, it's attached to that moment in life. And when you look at that watch, you're like, okay, this is bringing me back to then. Like I talked about yesterday with this brought me this. Every time I look at this watch, it brings me back to my childhood when I used to see when the G-Shocks with the light in the button in the middle just came out, and people would buy the all white one. It was super fresh, and I'm like, man, I was not a watch person at that time as a kid, but I was like, man, that's super cool. Going into it later on, I wanted a version of that, and that's why I got this watch. So I have that memory attached to it, and I don't think I could go wrong with this classic G-Shock Square. But I know for sure, no matter what angle you or what approach you go for, when you decide on a watch, it kind of clears the air too. It gives you a little bit of clarity when you're like, I don't know, I'm on the fence. I really like this one, but I like this one too. I kind of feel like you're on a mission when you're like, my firstborn is coming in this week. I'm making a move on this watch, and then boom, that's the watch that you snap holding your child, and or if you graduated or if you got a raise, whatever the case may be. I think that milestone watches are key and lock that in for you. Let me catch up on chat. And so good, bro. We took it. Okay, one of those ones I like the most. I read that. Milestone watches make the most sense to me as an excuse to keep it's yeah, that's true. It's like, well, I gotta get a watch now because X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? But more so and moreover that, now that watch is pretty much cemented into the collection because it's like I can't get rid of that memory, right? Even if you're like, I don't risk it. I don't know, man. It may even make you risk that watch even more than other watches because it just takes you through time. You know what I mean? No pun intended, no pun intended, whatever. Let me see what else you guys are saying. Maybe I'll do one more question. I don't know. Last one. Right, micro. Oh, another watch company. I'll check that out. Those are cool. Military watches, Swiss made. I'll pull it up. No problem. So instead of another question, where'd I leave off? Milestone. Okay. Oh, I actually skipped that question. That's why I got jumbled up before. Even when I got a script, baby. I'm doing the best I can. I did my best. Who knows Dane Cook? Are you happy, door kicker? Oh, man. Wait, let me search. What's that company called? Micro Milspec. Interesting. watches. Watches. You guys are saying that they're dope, so I am intrigued. First, you had my attention. Hang on. I think I got it. Swiss made. Yeah, Swiss made custom military watches. Let's take a gander, shall we? Oh, I thought I was getting a commercial. These cookies, man. It's like, yeah, do you accept the cookies? Yeah, I accept the cookies. Just leave me alone. Every single time you go on a website, I'm just letting you know that this website has cookies, sir. Really? Oh, snap. Okay. These are cool. Ooh, that's nice. That's nice. Very, very nice. Okay. Obviously, we're going with a pilot theme here. A lot of big, bold hour and minute marker. What is this, though? I wonder what this is. Oh, there's a lot to this, huh? I like it. I like it. I like it. Just scrolling through. They have a blacked out Hercules. The Hercules, they calling that. Hercules, Hercules. I like it. Very nice. Let's see what else we can get from here. So let me, matter of fact, what I like to do is when I find something new, it's like, okay, which watch is the first one that you land on, right? So let's explore that. Integrated bracelet is very nice. It's got that rubber, but you can see that flush connection there. That's really cool. I love the orange. I love the colorway. This is obviously well made, at least from this bird's eye view, right? You never know until you really put a watch in your hand. Oh, we're okay, Oscar. So we're raising the bar, are we? 38.50. Jeez, let's see what we get for 38.50, baby. You know I'm an affordable collector. What are you trying to do to me over there? What are you trying to do to me? I'm sure that there's a lot of interesting things for this. Annual production, so limited production, it looks like 50 pieces. Product details, grade 5 titanium, dome sapphire, only 100 meters of water resistance. I say only, but it's like, are we, who, you going 200 meters? You going 300 meters? Stop the cap, game. Stop the cap. Swiss made. Okay. I want to see if I could find a little bit more about this movement. Swiss made L121 movement, the heart of our timepiece. Very interesting. Definitely will check this out too, but that movement looks nice. Very, very nice. Not too much details in it, but definitely very interesting looking. And when I say details, I mean more of like colors, but definitely finishing on this is like crazy. And I'm thinking, and I might be wrong, but I might be thinking that some of these pieces also look titanium to me, which would allude back into why the price point, right? And oh, this is cool on their website. They also have like all different complications, and if you want to, I guess, find out more, 24-hour GMT, keep you connected. Yeah, very, very cool. Very nice. I'll look into this even more so, for sure. Military watches, Swiss made. Yeah, price point is up there though. Column wheel, chrono. It looks cool. Column wheel, chrono. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. For sure. All right, let's do one more question and then we're gonna peel off. We're well over our time, but you guys are rocking with me, so why not do one more question and then we'll peel off. I did that. Actually, you know what I want to do? I want to ask that recession question again, man. Actually, let's go back to that. Let's have a conversation about that. Like, what are you guys seeing a lot of you guys are doing research. A lot of you guys know about the new releases. I'm sure you guys know about how things are for sure. You know, what are your guys' prediction moving forward for these watch companies? Because I'm still seeing a lot of people fire off at the hip with the watch releases. It seems like the boat still is sailing strong when it comes to the watch market, what's available, what's being made. But what do you guys think moving forward, man? Of course we don't want things to get worse as is in the economy, and we're not talking about economics here on this channel, but it's relative to what we can expect from what the releases are going to be like and what watch collectors and how they're going to be able to respond. Listen, it's easy. Less money means less watches, but obviously every business has to adapt to that type of scenario. So, are we going to see price decreases from watch companies? Are we going to see more shifts in the watch community for more affordable kind of purchases? Because, as I said in the last live, Chinese companies, Chinese manufacturing is getting better and better and better every year. Uh, you don't obviously necessarily have to go that route because you have a lot of micro brands that make affordable watches that are going to be a couple of $100 more. A lot of them are even close to it. If we bring up like Island Watches, he's got watches within the 300 to 500 range, no problem. He's considered a micro brand to some capacity with his Island Watches. They all feel like a Seiko vibe, and chances are you're going to get a lot of Seiko infusion when you're at that price point. There are companies like Laurier that are going to have on the affordable side that are going to lean more towards vintage, so they obviously can't go with a mass produced dial. They have to still come out with their own replica of what was then and reintroducing it now. So what do you guys think, man? I for sure think that we're going to see prices continue to come down. Their companies are still releasing, but I don't know if my mindset has shifted as far as the price point just yet. Like, I know that I'm ready for bigger pieces, which means a bigger price tag in what I'm starting to value more. But, I don't know. I think that that's pretty much eventually we're going to see that. What I like out of all of these brands is that the components is getting full blast ahead, which means better prices and better materials and more for the, which is what we're already getting from micro brands, right, Oscar? Like, we already getting a lot of innovation. We're getting a lot of details in what we want out of the watches in their brands. And obviously they're very competitive, because if we saw the same energy being done to one of the bigger brands, and we don't have to say Rolex, we can say even the other brands, if they're trying to do, like, anybody who's adding anything to their watches, the price tag is up there. But micro brands is like, okay, give me the feedback to what you want to see changed, and it'll be a couple of $100 more, if anything, or not even in most cases, just because certain things that I didn't know don't even cost that much more. Like, I had a conversation with a micro brand owner, and he said, no, drilled lugs doesn't cost more. And I said, well, they're machining the hole into the case. So my assumption, and he's like, no, doesn't cost more. Just depends on if people want it or not in their watch. So, I mean, that gives an example and a direct, example of how, that could be added, if not given the quick release, to something that somebody wants. And that's just one example. I'm pretty sure there's much more, but we're seeing a lot of the clasps having that diver extension or that quick release or quick extension function, which I think is crucial right now, more so than even a drilled lug, man. I'm like, drilled lug. But the quick release at the lugs, yeah. And also the diver extension where you don't even have to take the watch off. I think as we progress, we need to see that as a bare minimum almost, right? And not for every watch brand, but more focused on the micro brands. I think that that's something that is, because I love bracelets. I like to start off with bracelets. I pay attention to bracelets. It's where I start off in my reviews for a reason, because that is almost like a tail sign to you. If somebody's putting a whole bunch of features, has a whole bunch of finishing on the bracelet, which could be considered an afterthought, then that just lets you know right there, okay, I'm probably going to unveil a good built watch here, judging by just the bracelet alone. And does a bracelet need to have all of those functions to be considered a good bracelet? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We're kind of just nitpicking, and we're being bougie about kind of the features that we're starting to get used to now, right? It's just naturally raising the bar when you see a bunch of micro brands adding that kind of function into the bracelet, and it's all solid, and it's female end links, and it's a quick release at the lug, and it's just so much already happening at the bracelet that it's like, okay, we're seeing everybody do that. Now it's kind of like the expectation, so they're kind of raising the bar as far as that goes. Big brands. And I do know that when you do these things to the bracelet, it's going to cost more, right? That's going to raise the price. You know, you're not doing and you're not having all those fine features and all those details in the watch and expect it to be the same price as a standard, you know, watch. And obviously, we're expecting the clasp to be milled. Just a lot of different features, man, that it's just an interesting time. Let's take a look. Bum. I hope so. It will, Dad, sooner or later. Big brands, yes. Micro brands, no. Micro brands can't afford the drop in price. Okay, so big brands, yes. Micro brands, no. On coming out with lower pricing on it. It makes sense, man. I mean, we all know that the big brands are able to put in those big shipment orders or big production orders into the manufacturing where they're going to get the smallest amount. So if you're doing a limited run, it's just common sense. If I'm saying make me 50 pieces and Seiko's saying make me 50,000, there's going to be a difference in cost. So therefore they can suffer. They have more overhead though. They have more overhead. And I'm sure that they're also receiving price increases from the manufacturing too. So there's also a side of that conversation where it's like, sure, but at the same time, that beast needs to be fed more food. But will they still have more cushion? I think so. I think so. And I know that obviously micro brands are going to be able to afford that less. So it's interesting to see, I would say at the very least, on how micro brands are going to adapt with the expectations now moving forward from them in becoming better and adding more features like I just mentioned, without having to obviously absorb cost, which they have less room to do. So my question is that, where is a micro brand to go? Do they just hold off? Do they do small tweaks to designs that they already are messing with and just try to slightly elevate and maybe kind of function within that realm? Pull back on the new releases when the market's a little bit more hotter? I don't know. Nobody knows, because fingers crossed things don't get worse, but things are pretty bad now. And so that really is something that I'm paying attention to, and I'm quite curious on how they adapt all together. So at the same time that they don't have the room to absorb on cost, they also don't have the overhead, like I mentioned too. So trade-off, but we'll see. Hold on, what's going on? I'm doing well. Thank you for signing in. But then you can use the CNC machines to make a bunch of them, not comparing with watches, all handmade, of course, that's true. Handmade, of course, going to be the way more expensive. Yeah, yeah. Depending on, like, listen, there's a lot of micro brands that are still hand making. A lot of them are not even hiring somebody to hand make their watches, so they're already saving on some cost. Their cost is their own personal time. We're obviously not, you're obviously, Oscar, not referring to someone of that caliber, right? Somebody who's already outsourcing the production build of their models, can't really revert back to it and still keep up with demand. But at the same time, if they have that capability, and I'm sure a lot of them do, being and starting off as enthusiasts and or dabbling with their own watches, but then there is the expectation, if you're not that good, if you have a watchmaker already making your watches and then you say, okay, to save cost and cut back, I'm going to start doing and building my own watches. Now that brings down your production capability, but at the same time, in a recession and in a time where people don't have a lot of money, do you need that amount of quantity being built and being kept up with? I guess that's really like chicken or egg, and we'll cross that bridge type of thing. So it's all depends, but CW model is running the same as Rolex now. Small tweaks to existing models and call it something new. Riding out the low spot in the market. Yeah, I mean, it makes it does kind of make a sense. Like if you're talking about Chris Ward in the conversation, then they have so many models already So I'm not mad at them taking a look at what they've already done and improving in it. And then there's another part of that is they're not where they were 10 years ago. So now that they have better connections and, you know, just better outlets, they could go back to what they've already produced and make it better. I'm okay with that, you know, especially with the new generations of watch enthusiasts coming in and it being new to them. Now, if they are looking at older models, they're at least getting versions of it. Now, I know what you're saying. What you're saying is that, yeah, but now they're taking something that they've done in the past and just tweaking it and adding more money to it. It's a slippery slope. I think the conversation could go, the door could swing both ways on there. But we all know that Chris Ward has a bunch of models already out there. And I'm not mad at them taking a look back and redesigning. But obviously, at the same time, we have to get something fresh and new. And they're kind of balancing that sheet. And I think they're balancing that enough. But that may be happening more. That may be happening more. We'll see. We just never know. But anyway, guys, I'm way over the line on my time. I appreciate the chit chat, man. This was a lot of fun, as always. And enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thanks for hanging out. And don't forget that this all started with a watch. No matter where your watch collection journey takes you, no matter how you decide to collect, you guys are all welcome on this channel and in this community, as you should be. I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me, and I'll see you guys real soon in the next one.